how to simplify fractions. We are going to be working with fractions today and learning how to simplify them. So you need a piece of paper. Make sure that you grab that from one of your teachers. So we're going to be talking about simplifying fractions. So that's the first thing that I want you to write on your paper this morning, simplifying fractions. And let's talk about vocabulary. We're going to go ahead and take our paper and fold it in half down the middle, then fold it in half the other way so that you have 4 sections. We're going to be talking about simplifying fractions, and if at any time I go a little too fast, just go ahead and pause it and copy down what you see. So most of you guys have already seen this, but to simplify means to sometimes make easier. So make sure you have that written down. Or it could also mean place in another form or put in another form. Okay, so to make easier or to put in another form. In this case, honestly, we are going to be working with the second definition, which is we're going to be putting fractions in another form. Make sure you have that piece written down. There's one more word we're going to be talking about is the word fraction. Now, you guys have seen fractions, you've worked with fractions, but when we talk about a fraction just represents a whole. I'm sorry, a part. A part. That's really important, or piece of a whole. So a fraction represents a part of a whole or a piece of a whole. And when I say a whole, I mean WHOLE, which is when you have 100% of something. In this case, the most important piece we want to talk about here is the word part or piece. Okay, so you guys are going to be using these words very specifically today. Most of you already know how to do this, but we're going to go through just a couple of 3 examples before you actually start with your work today, with your scavenger hunt. So let's go ahead and get started. So for instance, my first fraction is 10 over 15. Now, another word you might see, and you might want to put that here, is another word you might see for simplify is reduce. That's kind of the old school word, but you might hear some people say it every so often. I want you to know what that means. Okay, so once the whole goal of this is for once you're done adding or subtracting or multiplying or dividing fractions, you'd be able to simplify it. So we're kind of working backwards, and we're going to pretend that this particular number right here, 10 over 15, is the answer. Okay, maybe we added something, subtracted something, multiplied or divided. That became the answer. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to simplify it. So what we do to simplify it is we begin to think of at least 2 numbers, if not more, that we can multiply to get 10 and get 15, right? And we want to have numbers that are prime numbers, so we'll talk about that in a minute. So when you're thinking about numbers, I want you to think about prime numbers, those numbers that will cannot be broken down anymore. In fact, let's put it this way. Let's go ahead and do a 10. Let's do a tree. It might be a little bit easier for you guys. Okay, 10 and a 15. So I look at my multiplication chart, or I know in my head that 2 times 5 equals 10. Okay, we want to try to avoid multiplying by 1 if possible. Okay, over here I know it's 3 times 5. So we have 2 times 5 and 3 times 5. Okay, and I know for sure that the only thing that I can multiply to get 2 is 2 times 1. So I won't even worry about that. Once I can multiply it by 1, I'm all good. I can just circle it. In this case, there's nothing else I can multiply to get 5 except for 1 times 5. So those are what you call prime numbers. And most of you guys have heard of that term before. Prime means you just can't break them down anymore. It's just you can only multiply them by 1. Over here, 3 is a prime number because only 3 times 1 is the only thing you can multiply to get 3. And so is 5. So I circled all my prime numbers. Now I look to see, well, who are my twins? Well, I see a 2 here, but there's not a 2 on the other side, so that's not a twin. But what I do see is I see a 5 here and a 5 here. That means I know I can simplify by using 5. So let's go ahead and do that. To simplify means to divide by 5. So I'm going to make it a little simpler, or I would say it looks a little smaller. Okay. So I can use my calculator. I can go to the side and divide, but 10 divided by 5 is 2. And over here, 15 divided by 5 is 3. So you're really going to have to get good at your multiplication and your division skills for these. Right? If you need some extra additional help with the calculator, please let one of your teachers know, because you can use it on your Google Chromebook. So my simplified version of 10 over 15 is 2 over 3. They actually are the same fraction, it's just in different form. They look a little easier. Okay, that's why we call it simplifying. All right, let's do another one here. In this case, we're going to do a little bit bigger one, right? In this case, we're going to go ahead and do 24 divided by, or over 48. That fraction bar is actually a division bar. Okay, so let's go ahead and do our tree. We have a 24 and we have a 48. Okay, let's go ahead and start this tree. Now I can use my multiplication chart, which your teacher can show you how to do that. Or you can use a calculator, or if you're good at multiplication, excellent, use your multiplication skills. In this case, I know that 12 times 2 gives me 24. And like I said before, I know for sure 2 is a prime number, because the only thing that I can multiply to get 2 is 2 times 1. So I'm going to keep going with 12, because I know there's other numbers I can use to multiply to get 12. Oops, I'm using a highlighter. Okay, let's do, I know it's 6 times 2. 6 times 2 gives me 12. And again, I know that this is a prime number, 2 is, because the only thing I can multiply is 1 times 2 to get 2. Again, I can break down 6 even more, because I know there's 2 numbers I can multiply to get 6. And that's 3 times 2. Again, 2 is a prime number, so I can circle that. As well as I know 3 is, because the only thing I can multiply to get 3 is 3 times 1. Whew, there's a lot of numbers there, you guys. Let's go to the other side. So on the other side, I know that 12, oops, I keep using the highlighter. 12 times 4 gives me 48. And I know, looking over here on this side, that I can break 12 down again. So I'm going to break it down to 6 times 2. And we know this is a prime number right here, this 2, because the only thing we can multiply is 2 times 1 to get 2. We can break this down again to 3 times 2. And from my other tree, I know these 2 are prime numbers. Okay, let's go to the 4. Let's go all the way back up to the 4. I know that I can multiply 2 times 2. And I know for sure that 2 is a prime number again, because you can only multiply 2 times 1 to get 2. Whew, that's a lot of numbers. Now we're going to have to go ahead and find our twins, okay? So I see a 2 here and a 2 here. So I'm going to write that down at the bottom. And then I see a 2 here and a 2 here. So I'm going to go ahead and write that down at the bottom. And then I see a 3 here and a 3 here. So I'm going to go ahead and write that down at the bottom. And lastly, I see another 2 here and another 2 here. So I'm going to write that down at the bottom. So as you can see, I didn't actually use that one. And that's okay. It doesn't have a twin, so I can't do anything. So you see all these numbers I wrote at the bottom? These are not decimals. In 6th grade in algebra, you're going to start learning that these are multiplication. So let's multiply. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 3 is 12. And 12 times 2 is 24. So this is the number that I can simplify with. Right? In this case, I'm going to go ahead and divide both of these by 24. Okay, now you can use a calculator by all means for this, because I know it's a lot of calculating. Some of you guys are just good with your multiplying and dividing, and you'll be fine. 24 divided by 24 is 1, and 48 divided by 24 is 2. So that is your final answer. So these are this is the same as this. They're the same, but I simplified it. I made it look easier by making it 1 over 2. All right, let's do one more. Let's do 15. Oh, no, let's do 18 over 3. This will be our last one, right? I'm going to make 2 trees. So at the end, when I'm done adding my fractions, I make 2 trees just to make sure I can't simplify the answer, okay? So I have 9 times 2, and you guys know this is a prime already, okay? I can break this one down to 3 times 3, and you guys know 3 is a prime number, okay? Now let's go over here. The only thing, 3 is a prime number, so the only thing I can multiply this time is 3 times 1. So these are prime numbers. So let's look for a twin. I have to find a twin that's from here and here. In this case, the only twin I see is a 3. So I know I can divide both by 3. So 18 divided by 3 ends up being 6. And 3 divided by 3 ends up being 1. And I honestly can simplify this one more time because 6 or 1 goes into 6 times. So I can honestly do that. Okay, so what you guys are going to do now is you're going to be doing some practice with this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a list of prime numbers. So that will kind of help you when you are when you're simplifying things. You can look to see some of the prime numbers. Okay, so write these prime numbers down. Let me make them a little bigger for you. Okay, here are some prime numbers. If you see a 2, you know you can't go any further. It's a prime number. If you see a 3, a 5, a 7, an 11, a 13, a 17, a 19, and I'm going to go one more, 23. There are many more prime numbers, but these will help you out. Remember, prime numbers are those things that on our tree that we can't break down any further. So if you see any of these prime numbers right here, you can go ahead and tell yourself, oh, I can't break that down anymore on my tree. All right, good luck, you guys.